Now let us understand what is portfolio analysis. Now portfolio is a group of business or the product that the company is offering in the market. So we can take example of Tata, we can take example of HUL, Reliance, Patanjali. So all these are the entities which have portfolio of product. They are not offering a single or an individual product in the market, but they have group of product and services. They are operating into multiple business, and thereby they are known as conglomerates. And whenever the organization has such kind of portfolio, they should analyze this portfolio to understand what all product or businesses are performing up to the mark and which product and businesses are not giving enough profits. And by this, they can understand which product are acting as their strength and which products are acting as their weakness. They can determine whether the company's portfolio has that capability to satisfy the market or customers' expectation. Also, the company can decide as to where they should invest their limited resources. Every organization has limited amount of resources, and they have to take the right decision as to where they should invest these resources. And after analysis, you can take this judgment very properly. Now, the first kind of product portfolio analysis was put forward by Peter Drucker in 1973. And he did it on the basis of analysis of the current or the expected profitability of different business. And after taking into account the current and the expected profitability of different product in the portfolio, Drucker classified the different products into 7 categories. So the 7 categories are today's breadwinners, tomorrow breadwinners, yesterday's breadwinner, developments, sleepers, investment in managerial ego, and failure. Now, according to Drucker, if after analysis your product fall into first 3 categories, that is today's, tomorrow's, and yesterday breadwinner, then these products are actually performing well and they have the high current and expected profitability, and they are considered as a strength. But if your product falls into the last 2 categories, that is investment in managerial ego and failures, then they will act as your weakness. So you can take various decisions after analysis of your portfolio. There are various methods on the basis of which this analysis can be done, and one of them is BCG matrix. Now, BCG matrix was developed by Boston Consulting Group, and it is a tool which helps the organization to analyze the multi-product portfolio. Therefore, this is a tool which is used by any company which is into multi-category or multi-product offerings in the market. According to BCG, all the categories of products that the company are offering at present in the market are part of its portfolio. And this tool is, as I already told you, this tool is important for evaluation of each and every product in your portfolio, on the basis of which you can take important decision. I already told you the most important decision which you can take on the basis of analysis is allocation of your limited resources. See, any resource that an organization has cost. The company has invested the amount, and thereafter it has acquired those resources, and those resources are always in limited quantity. So the company have to decide in which product they should invest that limited resource. Definitely the company would like to invest the limited resources on those product and services in the portfolio which have higher potential for future profits. And you can come to know about the performance of each and every product of your portfolio only on the basis of analysis. BCG is one of the tools with the help of which you can analyze your product portfolio and ultimately decide which business should receive high amount of investment and which should receive less amount of investment. So the important decision that BCG help you to take is allocation of your limited resources. Now, this is done on the basis of analysis on 2 dimensions. The 2 dimensions include market growth rate, which is placed on y-axis. Please remember, market growth rate is placed on y-axis, and on x-axis we have relative market share. Relative market share is placed on y-axis. Now, what are these two? We'll look at in a moment. And you can also see that on y-axis the business growth rate could be high or it could be low. Similarly, your market share, your relative market share could be high or low. And on the basis of these 2 dimensions, we have 4 categories. So the first category here is star, the second is question mark, the third is cash cow, and the fourth is dog. Now, what are stars? Stars are the star is that kind of product or that kind of business in your portfolio, wherein you have high business growth rate and also you have high relative market share. See, business growth rate is nothing but the growth rate in the market. That means if the industry in which you are operating, the product of that industry are having high demands in the market, that is consumer are buying the product of that industry, there is huge demand of that products in the industry, then that means your industry is growing, the industry is into growth phase. So if your industry is growing, definitely that is a kind of an opportunity for you also. If the industry is into slowdown, industry is itself into depression, the firms operating into that industry will always have some kind of threats. So that is the business growth. What is how the industry is performing? The industry could be in boom, the industry could be into recession or depression. So industry growth rate, if it is high, that is a good thing, that is an opportunity. This is an external factor. Please remember, industry growth rate is not under our control. And if the industry growth rate is low, that is a source of threat for any business. Now on x-axis, we have relative market share. That is your market share compared to your competitor. That is the number of customers who are buying your product compared to your competitors. So supposingly your market share in the industry is 60%, and your largest competitor that you have in the market has the market share of maybe 40%. So that means this is you and this is your competitor. This is you and this is your. So your market share compared to your competitor is high. This shows that larger number of customers are buying your product instead of your competitor's product. So you can write high. And if supposingly your market share compared to your competitor is low, then this means this is not a good thing for you. Now, this is an internal factor. Your market share is an internal factor. If your market share compared to your competitor is high, it is source of your strength. This is because you have something unique and better compared to your competitor. And if your market share compared to your competitor is low, then this is your weakness. You are not performing as good as your competitor. There is something lacking in your performance. So on y-axis, we have external factor, and on x-axis, we have internal factor. Now the combinations results into these 4 quadrants. Now the first quadrant, as I already told you, is a star, which is result of high opportunity in the market and high strength. You can very well understand that any business would like to fall into this segment. If the products of company fall into that segment, that means the company is highly profitable, because the industry in which the company is operating is growing at the high rate, and also the company is a market leader. The company's market share is also high. This is a star performer. If your product fall into this category after analysis, you can say that your product is a star performer. And what should you do? Whether you should invest in this product or not? Definitely you should invest. So stars are those business which require heavy investments. Next, we try to understand what are cash cows. Now, if you just take these two things, you can understand what is the position of cash cow. The cash cow are formed when the industry in which you are operating have low growth rate. That means the industry's growth rate, the industry is into maturity stage. The industry is into maturity stage. There are no more customers that will be added into your market in future. The market has reached a saturated position. The market has stabilized. No new customers are going to come and buy your product. So that means the industry has reached the maturity stage. And but the good thing is that your market share in that mature industry is high. Your market share in that matured industry is high. So that results into cash cow. Now, what does cash cow signify? Now, cash cows are all those entities which does not require heavy investment, but still they'll generate huge amount of profits. Why don't they require heavy investment? Because the industry in which you are operating have already stabilized. So there is no scope for, investing more, because new customers are not going to come and buy your product. So you have to invest the same level. You have to invest at the same level at which you are investing at present. You have to maintain that level of investment, but no new investment you have to make. And as your position in the market is good compared to your competitor, your market share is high, that means you have a certain loyal group of customers who are still buying your product, and they will continue to buy your product in future no matter what your competitors do. And that's why they are acting as a ready source of profit for you. So this is what cash cow is. So you should, get as much profit from cash cow, because they require minimal investment and still they are generating huge amount of profits. And that profits you can then invest into stars, because they require huge amount of money. And then we come to discuss about dogs. So dogs are formed when the industry in which you are operating has very low growth rate. The industry has reached the maturity or even in the decline phase, and your market share in that industry is low. You are also not performing well compared to your competitors in that market. What should you do? See, there are threats in the environment, and you also have internal weakness. What should you do? If your business falls into dog stage, you should not invest more in this business. You should instead divest that business. You should remove that particular business from your portfolio, because there is no future of this business. The industry is not performing well, and you are also not performing well in that industry. Now let us talk about what are question marks. Now, question marks are those products which you have recently launched in your market. And why they are termed as question mark? Because you do not know what would be the future of that new product. It is possible that, that product may become successful in future and may one day become star. Or it is also possible that the new product is not accepted well by the customer and that may turn into dog. So that is question mark. That depends upon performance of that product. So how are question marks formed? So the question marks are formed, as I already told you, when you have introduced a new product in the industry that is into high growth stage. So industry is into high growth stage. The customers are demanding the product, and you have introduced a new product. And obviously, as you have introduced a new product, your market share would be low in the initial stages. So when the industry is into growth state and your market share is low, you have a question mark. But if your new product is accepted well by the market, your market share may increase in future and your question mark may turn into star, as I already told you. And it is also possible that your question marks may fall into dogs if the industry in which you are into may suddenly lose the charm, and if the industry enters into low growth stage, then your new product will fall into dogs category. So the future of that new product is seriously uncertain, and thereby it is known as question mark. Now we'll look at all these four in detail. Now, what are cash cows? Cash cows are all those products which have high market share in the low growing market. So I already told you they have high market share and the market growth rate is low. We are talking about cash cows. And so you can take maximum advantage. You should take maximum advantage of cash cow, because they will be generating high amount of revenues, because they have high market share and still they require less amount of investment. So at less investment, you are generating huge returns, and these returns will increase the overall profitability of firm, and the excess profits generated by cash cows can be invested in either stars, dogs, or question mark according to your evaluation and judgment. Now, what strategies are best for cash cows? See, cash cow, as I already told you, are those business which are generating huge amount of profit. So definitely you should retain that kind of business in your portfolio. That should not be divested. You should try to retain those business in your portfolio. You should try to retain the same level of market share, because competitors may try to reduce your market share, but you should try to retain that market share. You should try to ensure that the customers who are buying your product remain loyal to you, and for that you should launch various customer satisfaction program, loyalty program, various promotional methods you should use so that the core customer group remains with you no matter what. Stars. Stars are those products in your portfolio which require huge amount of investment because they are into the market which are growing, and also your market share is high. And so you cannot just leave it. You have to invest huge amount of capital in order to take maximum benefit of the huge market growth rate. Also, because market growth rate is high, the competition level will also be high, and competitors will try to reduce your market share, will try to snatch your customers. And that's why you need huge amount of investment in marketing, sales, promotion, advertisement in order to ensure that customers stick to you instead of buying your competitor's product. And that way, huge amount of investment is needed in stars. Now, question marks, I told you, it is for the innovative product, new product that the companies launch into market in the industry which is already having good growth rate. And whenever the company launches the new product, the market share is something which is how the market share of the new product will turn up is highly uncertain. It is possible that the customers may lose interest, and they may not like to buy your product, and that way your market share will decline. In future, the growth rate of the industry will also decline, and ultimately your product will turn into dog. So it is possible that the industry in which you are, the growth rate may decline and your product may turn to dog. And on the other hand, the positive thing is also possible. It is possible that your customer captures, your product captures customer interest. The people are willing to buy more and more of your product, which may increase your market share in future. And ultimately your product may become star and further in future move to cash cow. So that is possible. That kind of movement is possible. So question mark are those products whose future is uncertain. They may give high returns or they may become flop. And that's why as the answer is not clear, they are termed as question mark. Now, what are strategies that you can use for question mark? Depending upon your analysis, you can try to, if the growth rate in the industry is already high, you can try to capitalize, you can try to take maximum benefit of that growth rate. You should invest more into cash cows and try to increase their market share, and then turn them into, turn the question mark into star, and in future into cash cows. And if your research says that the product may not perform well and the industry in future may turn into low growth rate, you should leave that product, and that product will ultimately turn into dogs. So that ultimately depends upon how your research goes. And if your research tells that you should invest, that the future of the cash cow is good, you should invest. So as I already told you, there are two options. You can invest and try to increase the market share from low to high and convert your question mark into stars and then future into cash cows. Or it is also possible that the industry in which you are operating has presently high growth rate, but in future the industry growth rate may become low and you already have low market share, so your question mark will turn into dogs. Now, what are dogs? Dogs are all those products which are operating into low market share and low growth industries, and these are those kind of products which do not generate huge amount of cash, and they also not require huge amount of investments because the industry in which they are operating does not have high growth rate. So we do not need to invest more, and they actually give negative profitability. They have losses. And why they have losses? Because you have already invested huge amount of money into that product and they're not generating a large amount of market share. So you have already invested much, but they are not earning more from these kind of business. And the better decision for these business is to divest, is to remove those products from your portfolio. But it is also possible that the company may decide to make certain changes in the product. They may try to revamp the image of that product, make some investment, and ultimately try to increase the market share of the product. So with dogs also, you can take two decisions. Either you can leave the dogs as they are, you should not invest more, and you should try to divest, or you can invest the money into the dogs and try to turn them into cash cow by increasing their market share from low to high. So that depends upon your analysis. If you think that future is good, you should invest and then turn them into cash cow. Now, what are strategies for dogs? So that I already told you, depending upon how much cash you have left after investing into stars and question marks, you can decide to invest in dogs and turn them into cash cow, or you can decide to divest them. All this depends upon your analysis, but you should remember that it is very difficult for any business which is dog to convert them into stars or cash cows. So most of time, whenever the business falls into dogs category, the company decide to divest those businesses. Now, sequence of BCG matrix, there are two kind of sequence that any business can have. The dotted sequence, as we see, that moves from question marks to stars to cash cow, is a success sequence. And the line, the smooth line that we see that moves from stars to question marks to dogs, is a disaster sequence or loss sequence. Now, success sequence or profit sequence happens when the company launches a new product in the market, which has into an industry which has high market growth rate but low market share. But the company, on the basis of its skills and advertisements and other product qualities, turns them into stars, thereby increasing the market share and finally into cash cow. So if you follow this sequence, then this is known as a success sequence, and this boosts your profits and growth. And in disaster sequence, what happens? The product which were considered as stars in the portfolio of the company suddenly loses the charm. Some new competitors may enter into the market, and your product may fail to beat the competition. So your stars may lose the charm. The market share may reduce from high to low. Your product may enter into question marks category, and finally, when the industry in the future, the growth rate of the industry also reduces from high to low, your business may ultimately become dogs. And then you may have to divest those dogs out of your portfolio. All this shows that the company have made series of wrong decisions, because of which your stars turned into question marks and ultimately into dogs. And if the company makes right decisions, the company will fall into success sequence. Wrong decisions will make the company to enter into disaster sequence. Now, what are steps in BCG matrix? Now, there are 5 steps that you have to perform to do BCG analysis. Now, the first step is choose the unit. Choose the unit. So I already told you the BCG is a matrix which is used by any entity which has multiple product in the portfolio. So if the company has supposedly 3 product A, B, C, first of all, the company have to choose for which product or for which business the company wants to do BCG. So if the company wants to do it for A, so this is the first step, to choose the SBU, the brand or the product for which you want to do the BCG analysis. The whole analysis will depend upon whatever business you have chosen. So that choice is first. Now, in the second step, you have to define the market in which that product is sold. What kind of market or what kind of business, what kind of market in which that product or the business is operating. Now, this is also important, because if you wrongly define your market, then that will lead to poor classification. Supposedly, we want to do BCG analysis for Mercedes-Benz, and if we classify Mercedes-Benz as into passenger vehicle market, if we think that Dalmia Mercedes-Benz is into passenger vehicle market, this is actually a wrong classification. Because, and if we do this wrong classification, we'll consider Mercedes-Benz to be a dog, and we may decide to divest it, because in a passenger vehicle market, your Mercedes-Benz have a very low market share, almost 20% market share, right? And the other competitors in the passenger market have 80% market share. So you may think that Mercedes-Benz is a dog in your portfolio because the market share is very low. And this conclusion is because you have taken the wrong market. Mercedes-Benz correct market is not passenger vehicle, but the correct market in which Mercedes-Benz is operating is luxury car market. And then if you again do analysis, you will come to know that in luxury car market, Mercedes-Benz is having high market share And again, then you will come to the right conclusion. So that is important. You should understand in which market your product is performing. Wrong market classification will result into long decision making. In the third step, you should calculate your relative market share. So I already told you the BCG matrix is a 2x2 matrix, and on x-axis or on horizontal axis, we have relative market share. So how to calculate your relative market share? See, relative market share is nothing but your market share compared to your competitor. So how much revenues or market share you have compared to your competitors. And this is obtained when you divide your own market share with the market share of largest competitor in the market. So supposingly your competitor's market share in the refrigerator market is 25%, and your market share in the same market is 10%. Then when you calculate relative market share, you will divide 10 by 25, which is 0.4. Now this is your relative market share. On x-axis, what we do, we have here low and we have here high. I'll just draw it once again to show you more properly. So this is our BCG matrix, and herein we have relative market share on x-axis, and we have market growth rate on our y-axis, right? And on x-axis, we have in the left corner we have 1, and in the right corner we have 0, and in the midpoint is 0.5. So 1 shows high and 0 shows low, right? And your is 0.4. 0.4 is in the category of low. 0.4 shows that your market share is into low categories because your market share falls in the right side of the midpoint. So your market share in the refrigerator industry is low. So that way you can decide low or high. And then we have to calculate our market growth rate. So market growth rate can be directly obtained from various industries report which are published by various institutions, or you can take into account the average growth rate of the leading company or the market leader in the industry. Market growth rate is calculated in percentage basis. Now again we have high and low. So high here and low here. And in midpoint we can place maybe 10%. So if your market share is higher than 10%, your company falls into high growth rate, your industry falls into high growth rate. And if the growth rate of the industry is less than 10%, your industry falls into low growth rate segment. So what you will take in the midpoint depends upon in what kind of industry you are operating, because there are certain industry wherein the average growth rate is 5%. And so if the industry at present is operating at higher than 5%, that is high growth rate industry, and less than 5% is low growth rate industry. So what you will place into midpoint, I already told you, depends upon what kind of industry, what kind of environment in which industry is operating at present. And finally, in the fifth step, you will draw the circles in the matrix. So on the basis of your analysis, you will place the product after doing. Supposingly for product A, we came to know that our product has low growth rate. Our product has low growth share because the market share of our product A is just 0.4, which is low. And we came to know that the industry in which product A is operating is having 6% growth rate, which is considered as high. So therein, our product A will fall in here, wherein we have low growth rate and we have high growth rate, wherein we have high growth rate of greater than 5%, which is 6%, but low market share. That means our product is into question mark category. And supposingly we are doing analysis for product B, and we came to know that product B is having the relative market share of 0.6, and the industry in which product B is operating has the growth rate of 4%. This means that relative market share is high, but the growth rate is low. That means your product is into cash cow. B is into cash cow. So that way you will place your product into different parts of this matrix, and you will draw circles around them. Now circles will show the And the circles that you draw around each of your product in the matrix will show how much revenue is generated by that brand. So supposingly your 3 products fall into cash cow. Supposingly your 3 products fall into cash cow. So if your 3 product B, C, D falls into cash cow category, circles that you draw around them, the size of the circle that you draw around them will show what amount of revenue that they are generating. The larger the circle around them, that means the higher the revenue that they are generating. So that way, so if this is your BCG and if you find that your 3 product B, C, D falls into cash cow, and if you draw the circles around B, around C, and around D. So by looking at the size of the circle, you can see that even though 3 products are falling into cash cow category, but still the highest revenue that is generated by product C compared to B and D. So that's what circles do. Yes. So what are the different strategies that is suggested for BCG matrix? Now, this is also very important and it can definitely come in your MCQ. So different strategies of BCG matrix. So the first strategy is build strategy. Now, build is nothing but, calls for high amount of investment. Build strategy, if you have chosen build a strategy for your product, that means you have opted for high amount of investment. Now, this strategy is usually opted for star. Star requires huge amount of investment, and also this strategy could be used for question marks because you require huge amount of investment in question mark to increase their market share as well. So build is nothing but invest more in order to increase the market share of your product. For example, you can invest more in question mark in order to turn them into star and finally into cash cows. Now, hold is the another strategy that you can use after your analysis. Hold is a strategy wherein you do not invest more. You do not invest more because you have no scope for investment, and that is possible in case of cash cows. Already told you, cash cows are those companies which are into mature business. And business have reached, the industry has reached the maturity stage. There is no more scope for new customers coming into the market, and there is no need for additional investment. You should continue to invest at the same level, but there is no need for additional investment, and you should try to preserve the market share, because there are competitors who will try to snatch away your competitors, and therefore you should try to hold, or you should try to preserve the market share that you have. And this strategy can also be used for star, because in star also I told you there are competitors, because the industry is growing and the number of competitors are entering into the industry to get the benefit of that opportunity of high growth rate. And again, they'll try to snatch away your customers, and then also you can use the hold strategy, which means holding or preserving your existing market share. When you try to preserve your existing market share, that is hold strategy. Hold means preserving your existing market share. Preserve your existing market share. Preserve your existing market share means your hold strategy. Harvest. Harvest is a strategy which is best used for cash cow, which means that don't invest more, just take out the maximum benefit that you can get in the present situation. And this is aptly used for cash cow, because cash cow does not require huge investment and they still generate cash flow, and you should take the benefit of that cash flow to increase to your overall profitability of business. Divestment is used for dogs. Herein you would try to sell those business and release the money that have already been invested in that business, and then that money could be invested in either stars or in question marks, depending upon your analysis. That's it for here. Yes. Okay. Now, what is utility of BCG matrix? Now, what is utility of this BCG matrix? So there are two utilities of BCG matrix. So the first, this matrix I already told you is used for conglomerates, used for those companies which are operating into different industries. They have different set of businesses. And BCG matrix helps you to decide where you should invest your money. It gives you a logic whether you should invest in a particular business or not. So after analysis, you can decide to redeploy your cash from your cash cows to those business that have higher. So once you come to know that your particular business is cash cow, you can you can generate the maximum amount of profit from your cash cow and invest the profits generated from the cash cow in your stars, which have high growth potential in future. So BCG actually helps you to take the decision of investment and reinvestment, whether you should invest in particular business or not, and how you should classify your investment. So that is, so in case of conglomerates, cash can be invested smartly, and that's what BCG help you. And also with this metrics provide the companies with a powerful tool to maximize their competitiveness, because on the basis of BCG, you can take right decision about the investment. You can invest in those business which are highly competitive, which are valued, and which can be sustainable in future. And this helps you to take maximum advantage of the position of your business and secure future growth rate. So quickly summarizing, first advantage is BCG help you to invest your limited resources in a proper manner. It help you to concentrate on those businesses which are highly valuable and have huge and have secure future. It increases your competitiveness into the market. It helps you to take right decisions. Now, what are criticism of BCG? So there are lots of criticism of BCG, and we'll quickly see one by one. So the first criticism of BCG is that this tool, the BCG, assumes that if the company is having high market share, then they will be generating more cash. High market share does not always ensure that the company is profitable, that the business is profitable, because in order to maintain that high market share, also company have to invest a lot. And at times what happens is that your investment in maintaining that share is a lot more than what you are generating from that share, which ultimately result into deficit. So not always it is possible that high market share is equal to surplus cash. BCG analyzes each and every business on the independent basis. It ignores the interdependencies or the connections between different businesses in the portfolio. So it is also possible that, you know, a dog which you have decided to divest on the basis of analysis is actually important to run the cash cow or a star business. So some kind of businesses may be acting as a dog in their portfolio, but they may be helping the other business by providing them some kind of materials for their smooth running. So that way, dogs should not be divested always, right? That may be that may not be generating enough cash by themselves, but they may be supporting your stars or question marks. So also this matrix seems to give the broad definition about market share and market growth rate by overlooking at the niche market. So what they are saying here is that when we are looking at the market share and market growth rate, we are taking into account the whole market. We are taking into account the whole market and what and how is the performance of the company in the entire market. But at times it is possible that a particular company may not be performing well in the entire market, but they may be having a good performance in the niche market. So the example that they have given is that supposedly the company is manufacturing scooter tires, and that company may be having a very less market share in the entire tire industry. In the entire tire industry, all kinds of tires, if we take into account, that makes tires industry. So if it is possible that a particular company may be having a very low growth rate, very low market share in the entire tire industry, but they may be having a high market share in the scooter tire industry, right? So that way you may reach to wrong conclusion. Because in BCG matrix, we are not talking about niche at all. We are not analyzing niche market. We are talking about the entire market. So that way you may reach at a long conclusion. You may think that your company, that is that your product scooter tire is not performing well because of having low market share, because you are comparing your scooter market sale with the entire tire industry sale, and that way your market share will definitely be low. Matrix is also criticized for suggesting that all corporations will identify all the product into 4 quadrant. So not all product can easily fit into 4 quadrant. The real life situation is much more difficult, and your product may not be placed into any of the four quadrant in reality. And again, market growth rate, which is taken on your y-axis, is taken as the indicator of industry attractiveness. So you are taking only a single factor to decide whether the industry is attractive or not. There are other factors which also impact whether the industry impact the industry attractiveness, but BCG takes into account only single factor to suggest whether the market has opportunity or not. So by looking only at the market growth rate, we decide whether the industry is attractive, whether this is opportunity or not. And similarly, on x-axis, we are taking relative market share, which is also only one factor. And on the basis of that one factor only, we are deciding whether the company has a strength or weakness. So that is also wrong. One factor cannot decide the real picture. So to overcome the limitation of BCG, we have one more matrix, which is GE matrix or McKinsey matrix, which take into account multiple factors to decide whether the industry is attractive or not, and whether the company has strength or not in the market. I hope you are understanding this point. What I'm saying is that in BCG on y-axis, we are taking market growth rate, and market growth rate is taken as a signal for industry attractiveness, whether industry is attractive or not. But according to GE or McKinsey matrix, they say that one factor such as market growth rate cannot point out whether industry is attractive or not. We should take into account other factors also. Similarly, on x-axis, we are taking market share. And if market share is high, we are assuming that the company has a strength in the market. But again, according to GE, one factor cannot justify or cannot signal the strength or weakness. Multiple factors have to be taken into account. Now, again, they are saying is that, just taking market share does not, if the company is having high market share in a particular industry, that does not guarantee profitability. It is also possible that a company has huge market share in the industry, but the company is not generating profit still. That is also possible. So market share does not guarantee profits, right? BCG matrix does not consider decreasing market. Cash cow would disappear without reason. So BCG does not consider future. BCG is not talking about anything about future. So when any business falls into cash cow, we actually feel happy because as I already told you, cash cows are those businesses which are into low growth industry, but they have high market share, and so we do not require huge investments, and still we are generating huge profits. But the criticism says that at times the low growth rate would drastically because already the business is into the low growth rate, and this low growth rate would again drastically reduce in future, and the cash cow will disappear. So that is possible that the growth rate of the market reduces drastically, and then the market itself will disappear. So how you will benefit in future? So that is also possible. Now both the axes have been assigned some values. So I already told you we assign some values on x-axis from 1 to 0, and on y-axis we also put some numbers. So they say that these numbers are difficult to get. And again, BCG matrix does not take into account what competitors are doing. We are only analyzing what our portfolio. We are not analyzing anything about competition. And BCG matrix actually oversimplifies the realistic situation. In reality, things are much more difficult. We have to take into consideration number of factors, but BCG takes into account only 2 factors, and it oversimplifies the situation. Reality is much more hard and difficult to actually understand and put into practice. Now look at NSOF growth matrix. And this matrix shows us 4 ways of growth. So if you are already decided that you want to expand your business, you want to grow, then and then only you can use NSOF product market growth matrix. Now this matrix first appeared in a Harvard Business Review 1957, and it is given by Igor Ansoff. And this matrix gives option for any business organization to grow. And for growing, this is again a 2 by 2 matrix, and on x-axis we have products, and products are again classified into 2 categories: your existing product, which the company is selling at present, and new product, which the company will develop in future. It is shown on x-axis, and on y-axis we have markets. The markets in which the company is serving at present are existing markets, and the market in which the company wants to serve in future are known as new markets. And on the basis of these four categories, we have again four different growth strategies. These four strategies are market penetration, which means the company will focus on the existing product and existing market. The company is not going to change or add the new product to the portfolio. Also, the company is not going on in the new market, but still the company will grow. Now, most of the students are confused between the stability strategy as given by Gloop and market penetration strategy. Now, stability strategy, as the name suggests, is the strategy wherein the company will remain stable. That means in the stability strategy also, the company focuses on same market, same product, but also the level of effort is same. If the company is manufacturing 10,000 units and selling 10,000 units, the company will continue to do the same. In case of stability, the market, product, and level of effort is also same. But in case of market penetration, though the company is focusing on same product and same market, but still the level of efforts that the company is making will increase because company wants to grow. The company will produce more, the company will sell more because this is growth strategy. The next we have product development. In product development, as the name suggests, the company will develop new product. The company will offer new product to the same markets. So to the same customers, the company will offer some new products. The markets are same, but the product will be new. That is known as product development. In market development, the market is developed. That means the company will sell the same product to the new market. Here the markets will be new, but the products would be same. And in case of diversification, which is the most risky strategy of growing, the company will sell completely new product into the completely new markets. So these are the four strategies we'll look in detail. Market penetration, I already told you, it is a growth strategy, and it is used by those business which do not want to take much risk. And herein you will grow by focusing on selling the same product to the same customers, but now you will increase your efforts to sell more to the same customers. So you can sell the same product more to your current customers. Supposingly, there is one toothpaste company and it wants to sell more to the same customer. So then it will modify its advertisement and appeal to its customer to brush their teeth twice or thrice a day. That way they can increase more, they can increase their sale to the existing customer. Because if the toothpaste is used more often by the customer, definitely the consumption level will increase and they'll buy more. So that way you can sell same product in the same market but more, and thereby you can grow. You can also the second way in which you can go for market penetration strategy is you can sell to the customers similar to your current customers but who are buying your competitors' products. So that way you can try to snatch your competitors' customers. You can attract the competitors' customer and persuade them to use your product compared to your competitors' product, and that way you can sell more and grow. And the third thing is that the customers similar to the current customer base who have the need but are not buying products. So if there are also the customers who have the need but they are not buying the product, they are not buying your product, they're also not buying your competitors' product. So you can try to activate their need and persuade them to try your product at least once. So that way you can add them to your customer portfolio. So that way, these are the three things, these are the three methods in which you can go for market penetration. Now, for market penetration, definitely you need to invest on promotions. You need to create customer value because you are trying to sell more to the same categories of customer, or you are trying to snatch competitors' customer, or in the third case, you are trying to activate the latent needs of the customers. All these can be done with the help of promotions and by creating value for the customer. Now, market penetration is also termed as business as usual but on steroid. Please remember this line. This may come in MCQ, for which strategy this statement is used. business as usual, but on steroid is used for market penetration strategy. Now, there are some risks in pursuing market penetration strategy. The first thing is that in market penetration, we are trying to increase our market share by selling more to the customers. But if the industry in which you are operating has already reached the maturity stage, then there is no more there is no more option of increasing market share. So that is what they are saying. If the firm has already the highest market share, if you're already having the high market share and increasing beyond this is not possible at all, then this strategy would fail. Because if the company already have the high market share, the opportunity for more growth are limited. In the countries like India, we have legal norms. We have legal norms which try to limit the maximum amount of market share that any company could have. Because if the company, tries to increase the market share and tries to capture 100% market share, it will ultimately become a monopoly, and that is against the law. And that's why the company cannot increase its market share beyond a particular limit. You cannot use market penetration beyond a particular limit. So that is possible. And the second thing, in market penetration, we are trying to attract the customers of our competitors, and this will definitely increase competition rivalry. The competitors will try price war. They'll try to reduce their prices to attract more and more customers, but this will ultimately benefit customer and reduce the overall industry profitability. This happened in case of telecommunication sector after Jio entered into the industry. Increasing exposure to one product market segment can make business more susceptible to future changes in the competition by keeping all eggs in one basket. Yes, market penetration requires you to focus on same product, same market, and not try anything new. But if you are doing the same thing again and again, if you're not trying anything new, what will happen is that your dependency on the same product, same market is increasing. And if that market or if that product fails ultimately in future, you will lose. Nothing will be left to you, because you are putting all your efforts, all your eggs in one basket. You're not doing anything new. You're not going for new markets. You're not going for the new product, which can save you in case your existing product market combination fails. The next strategy is product development. In this, the company focuses on the same customers, but they are inventing or launching new product for the same customer segment. So the customers are same, the market is same, but the product, the company tries to understand the needs of the same categories of customer and introduce the new product which will try to satisfy the other needs of the same customers. So after understanding the needs of customer, if the company finds that there is opportunity for producing and selling the new products for the same markets, the company goes for product development. Herein also you can opt for 3 methods of product in which product development could be successful. You can in the same market, you can persuade your existing customer to stop buying your existing product and try your new product. And that way you can replace your present product with your new and better product. So the company may try to modify the existing product and replace their existing product with the new and better product, which are more worthy in the eyes of customer. That way product development is possible. And second, you can try to make those products which are complementary of your main product. So in the same market, for the same customers, if you are providing mobile phones, now you can start manufacturing chargers. So that way you are providing the new product to the customer in the same market, and that product you are providing which is complementary of your main product. So there, here also you are inventing new product for the same customer. And the third thing that you can do is you can act as one-stop solution for your existing market, for your existing customer, and you should try to make all the different related product that your existing product as your existing customer needs. So the company can act as one-stop shop by adding new product to the existing product chain, and that way strengthen or leverage the relationship by providing more convenience. So what they are saying is that the company can try to produce new product from the value chain. So they are talking about vertical integration in this option. So supposingly, the company is providing ready-made garments. The company is providing ready-made garments to its existing customer. Then the company can start manufacturing the cloth also. So previously, if a company was buying cloth from some other companies, some other suppliers, the company can start manufacturing cloth also. And that way, the company can act as one-stop solution from all its customers. So previously, the customers may be buying a ready-made garment from your company, but cloth from someone else. But now, if you start manufacturing cloth also, then your customers can buy everything from your counter only. So that way you can try to manufacture more and more product from in your value chain. And that way also you can go for product development. I hope you understand these three strategies. The first strategy says that you can modify your product, you can make better products, and then you can persuade your customer to go for those better products and replace your existing product with those products. Secondly, you can make the products which are complementary to your existing product, and you can in the third stage you can act as one-stop shop, and you can start manufacturing all the product of the value chain. All the product of a value chain you can start manufacturing. Okay, and the third strategy of NSOF is market development. So in market development, you will try to sell the same product, the existing product, in the new markets. Now, new market, the market as defined for this strategy is very broad. So there are different ways in which you can go for market development. The first way is to go for different market segment. Now, market segment is nothing but a category of market. So any market can be divided into number of segments. For example, garment market can be divided into different segments: children, adult, and old. Or it can be divided on the basis of age also, on the basis of gender also. So these are different markets. We can take example of Horlicks. So Horlicks was previously selling the product only for children. Children Horlicks, the chocolate drink they were selling. But now they have entered into new market segment. They are now selling women Horlicks. This is also a category of product, also the category of market development. So when you opt for a new segment, when you try to cater the completely new set of customers, previously you were selling product for customer, and now you are also selling women's Horlick. That is a new category of customer going into the different market segment and offering the different product at different prices is also known as market development. The second case of market development is, launching new market or distribution channel. So supposingly you were previously selling your product only through the traditional shops, physical shops, but if you now start selling your product through internet over online also, that is also the category of market development, because this will definitely add new customers to buy your product. Previously, if you are selling only through physical shop, only certain category of customer who are residing in your locality were able to buy your product. But if you start online, a new set of customer will also be able to buy your product. So that's what is also termed as market development, starting selling through new distribution channels. And the most obvious method of market development is going on in the different or new geographic market. So if any company is selling its product in India and in future it starts selling in product in USA, this is termed as market development. So moving from local to regional, regional to national, and national to international is also a type of market development. Now, if you opt for market development, you have to definitely do some kind of product development. Market development is not possible. Certain kind of market development is not possible without product development. So supposingly you were previously selling for local market. Now, if you are opted to go for international market, some kind of product modifications will definitely be needed to serve international market, as the needs and demand of customer in different geographical markets are different. So that way, some kind of product development is needed for market development too. The company should also be able to judge as to which are the best market the company can pursue. The company should also understand which are the markets wherein the company should not enter. So your market development analysis should depend upon complete and proper analysis. You should analyze whether the opportunity is genuine and whether the opportunity would be profitable in long run. Again, you should take into account the actions that your competition or reactions that your competition will give towards your strategy of market development, right? So your customer reaction should also be taken into consideration. Now, the fourth ENSOF strategy is diversification, and this strategy involves launching new product for the new customers. Now, there are three levels of diversification, they say, but basically there are two strategies of diversification. The first category of diversification means a related diversification, wherein the company manufactures the product which is somewhat related to its existing product. So while your customers and products would be new, but there is some kind of logic, there is some kind of relation that your existing product have with your new product. So supposingly your existing product, you were manufacturing refrigerators and you start manufacturing microwave. So microwave is a completely new product which is not anyway related with your, which is not same as your existing product. You are selling refrigerators and you have now started manufacturing and selling microwave. So microwave is not same as refrigerator. The customers buying microwave are not same as those buying refrigerator. So that way, this is a kind of diversification. But still, we'll term it as related diversification because there is some kind of linkage between these two products. These two are considered as white goods industry. Both these are kitchen appliances. So there is some kind of connection or logic between your expansion, right? So if your product is somewhat or in a way related with your existing product, that is known as related diversification. And you can also go for unrelated diversification, wherein your customers and your products are different and have no connection with your existing business. The strength, the knowledge that you require for that product is completely unrelated. So if the company was manufacturing refrigerators, start manufacturing cement, this kind of expansion or this kind of diversification is completely unrelated diversification. Now, diversification into unrelated market definitely requires you to develop new resources and new capabilities. And this is considered as a most risky strategy out of all ENSOF strategies. And it is also termed as suicide cell. Please remember, a suicide cell is used for diversification strategy. Now, even this strategy, even if this strategy is risky, this strategy gives benefit. If your diversification is successful, it will reduce overall risk of your portfolio, because diversification help you to distribute the eggs in different baskets. Because of diversification, now you're not putting all eggs in one basket, you are distributing the risk in different baskets. So even if one of your business fail, it will not create much impact because other businesses can be successful. So that way your overall risk of the portfolio reduces because of diversification. Also, if your business was previously seasonal, now this seasonality will be reduced. Your business will no longer depend upon a single season. If you diversify, you can sell product in all different seasons. You can sell the swim cloths in, you can sell swim cloths in summer, umbrellas in spring, and autumn, and heavy overcoats in winter by selling different products. So that way diversification is actually a helpful strategy. But company should again diversify only after a proper analysis, because if you go into unattractive industry or super competitive industry, that industry will ultimately will lead you to losses. How should you use ENSOF growth strategy? You can use this strategy to brainstorm and identify what are the different options that you have if you have decided to grow. ENSOF strategy gives you different options to grow. Again, with the help of ENSOF strategy, you can analyze different options according to your position, and ENSOF metrics help you to do proper analysis and take right decisions so that you can grow properly. Now, the previously ENSOF gave 2x2 matrix, that is 4 different strategies, but thereafter ENSOF modified the strategy into 3x3, 3x3, that is 9 cell matrix. So Ansoff gave three-dimensional matrix, modified the two-dimensional matrix into three-dimensional. So here we have existing product, modified product, and new product. And we have existing market, new market, and new markets and new target groups. So you just have to remember the basic strategy, basic Ansoff matrix I already told you. So this is the basic Ansoff matrix, and we have already done this. Now, the next matrix that we have to understand is ADL matrix. Now, ADL matrix is given by Arthur D. Little, and this matrix is also helpful in analyzing your portfolio, and it is based upon two dimensions. The first dimension is your industry maturity, which is the source of your external, which signifies your external environment, the stage at which industry is operating at present, and we also have business strength. Now, business strength is the signal of your competitive position. It is a signal of, it is an internal factor. It shows your internal strength. Now, as you can see, this is ADL matrix. And on x-axis, we have industry life cycle, which is an external factor I told you, because industry life cycle is not in our control. And there are four stages of industry life cycle. There are four stages of any product life cycle. So we'll understand first what are these four stages. Now, the first stages is embryonic, which is also known as an introduction stage. So at this stage, the products in the industry are introduced, and obviously the customers do not have much knowledge about these products, and therefore the customers are not buying enough. Sales are very low, and because the product in the industry is innovated, and therefore the prices are very high, because lots of research and development might have gone in producing or introducing that product, and the company operating in that industry have to do lots of advertisement to persuade the customer to try their product. And that's why, because of lots of expenses that goes on in the introduction stage in research and development, advertisement, and other factors, the prices are kept high to recover all those expenses. There is no or very little competition, because the firm has just come up with a very new product, and the firm may be first in the industry, and thereby the other competitors are still not into the market, because competitors usually enter into the market when some product is successful and earning huge amount of profits. As I already told you, there is huge investment in manufacturing that product and in introducing that new technology. In the growth stage, what happened? The sales pick up. The customers are now aware about the product. The sales increases. The market strengthens. Slowly, gradually, the competitors start appearing into the market. The company, because of its experience, achieve excellence in bringing that new product in the market. Then comes the maturity stage, wherein the market is now completely stabilized. No more new customers are added. The company have now the established group of customers. The market shares of all the company in the industry are now stabilized, and the same type of customers, the same number of customers are making repeated orders. There are lots of competition in the industry. The competitors are trying to increase their market share by snatching away the customers of their competitors. They are trying to differentiate their product in some or the other way in order to attract large number of customers. And finally comes the aging or the declining phase, wherein the overall sale of the industry declines. The firms in the industry are not making enough sales. And the demand, this is because demand decline. It may be because some new product is invented, because of which the existing industrial products are not working enough. This happened in case of those film cameras. So previously there were film cameras, but then came digital cameras, and now we have mobile phones. So as and when a new type of product comes, the old firms in the old industry are not able to make enough sale because of declining demand, and just to survive, the competitors are snatching each other's market share. Therefore, the competition becomes very difficult. Only few companies can survive, whilst the other companies will have to move out of the market because of declining share and declining profits. The companies try to innovate, the companies try to adapt with the new technologies. And if they are successful, they can. So this is an introduction phase, and then comes the growth phase, then comes the maturity phase, and finally the decline phase. So in decline phase, if the company have reached the sales are declining, so this downward trend shows declining sales, the company can make modifications, the company can change its product in a way that can be appealing to the customer. And if that is possible, the company will again, change the curve to positive. That is possible. So if company is successful in modifying, the company will remain in the industry and again reap the benefit of increasing sale, or it will make exit. So these are the 4 different stages. Introduction phase, where the product is very new. Then comes the growth stage, when the customer have accepted the product and the sales have increased. Maturity phase, where the sales have stabilized. And the aging phase, where the sales declines. And on y-axis, we have competitive position of the company. It is internal factor. Good competitive position is a source of strength. Bad competitive position, weak competitive position shows your weakness. So there are 5 categories of competitive position that we have. We have dominant, strong, favorable, tenable, and weak. We'll understand one by one in detail. So competitive position, dominant. Dominant is a very rare position that any organization can have. It is equal to monopoly. And you can get monopoly when you have invented some kind of technology or some kind of product which is completely new, and then you have patented that product. So if you have taken patent of an innovative product, you are the only company that can manufacture and sell that product, and thereby earn a monopoly position in the industry. So that is dominant, and every organization would like to have that position because there is absence of competition at this level. Then we have strong position, and in strong, the market share is higher as the position of the company is comparably powerful as compared to the other competitors in the industry. So strong shows that your market share is higher as compared to your competitors. So supposingly the industry has 5 competitors, and out of those 5, if your market share is 80% and the other 4 competitors share 20%, that shows your strong position. There are competitors, you are not in monopoly, but your position is much stronger than your competitors, and so you can aggressively threaten your competitors. Favorable is a position wherein the company have an edge over the competitors in certain segments. The company may have a strength of product, may have geographical advantages, but still there are competitors who are giving you tough fight. Favorable is also considered as a position where the industry is fragmented and there is no clear industry leaders. So there may be competitors who have almost equal market share. So supposedly the industry have variety of competitors, but if there are 3 competitors who are having maybe 30 and 30% market share, so this is considered as favorable position. This is because you have an edge over your competitors. They are not able to beat you completely. You are giving them tough fight. That kind of position is known as favorable position. You have an edge over your competitors. That's why you are giving them tough fight, and you have to do something continuously in order to protect that position. Tenable is a position where the company is doing good but not best. Company have find out a small niche market, a small focus market wherein the company has good position. The company may be focusing on a very specific location, or maybe trying to create some product difference so that it can retain a small group of customer in its favor. But as the company is not really very strong in the market, it is just having a small niche market under its control. Its position is still very vulnerable. If the competition in the industry enhances, the company may face difficulty in surviving because the company is, just able to manage somehow. It is not having a very good position. So that is known as tenable position, right? You are just having satisfactory amount of profits. You are having a small group of customers. Your position is not very good. And if the competition increases, your position may be into danger. Weak is a position which is definitely not very satisfactory. The company is into losses. The company position is very unattractive. And the company should look at market opportunities. And if they find one, they should try to enhance their position by taking the benefit of that opportunity, or else the company will be thrown out of the market. So weak is very bad position. So you can easily see that as we go down, the position actually, the position of the company, the comparative position of the industry, comparative position of the company in the industry actually reduces. Dominant offers monopoly, strong gives you a position which is much greater, much powerful than your competitors. Favorable, your market share is just equal to the other competitors, not that good, not that bad. So there is tough fight. Tenable, you are just able to manage. You're not into losses, but you are just able to manage. Your position is not very good too. Weak is very bad position, right? How should you use ADL matrix? So ADL matrix help you to identify at which stage of maturity industry is. You should analyze the industry maturity and then you should come to conclusion. You can analyze what is your comparative position in the industry, and finally you should position yourself into the matrix. So if you find that your industry is into growth stage and you are having strong position, so these are the different strategies that you should use. You should attempt to improve your position and push your share. You do not have to remember all this. Do not have to remember all this, so don't take tension. You just remember who have given ADL matrix, orderly written, what are the different dimensions used. So on x-axis, industry life cycle is used, which is categorized into 4 categories. And on y-axis, we have comparative position, which is categorized into 5 categories. Just remember this. This is 5 by 4 matrix. This is 5 by 4 matrix. This is 20 cell matrix. We have five rows and 4 columns. That's why it is 5 by 4 matrix. Just remember these things. Now let us look at the next tool, which is McKinsey, GE McKinsey matrix. Now this matrix have been given by General Electric Company and McKinsey and Company. Working together, they developed this matrix. This matrix is also used for the analysis of the product portfolio of the multi-business corporation. And this is more or less same as BCG, but it is considered as superior to BCG because it resolves many of the problems that were faced in BCG matrix. Now, it is also considered as more complicated than BCG. This matrix is considered as complex because in BCG analysis, we have 2-dimensional, and I hope you remember the 2 dimensions. On x-axis, we had relative market share, and on y-axis, we took market growth rate. Now, relative market share was signal of your strength or weakness. It is an internal factor. And market growth rate is something which talks about an external factor. High market growth rate. In case when the industry had high market growth rate, we considered it as opportunity, and low market growth rate was considered as threat. But we also studied in limitation of BCG analysis that, by taking only one aspect on x-axis and one aspect on y-axis, we cannot take important business decision. We should consider more number of factors to decide whether the company has strength and whether the market is really attractive. And therefore, GE considers multiple factors on x-axis and y-axis. And on x-axis, we take internal business strength, and on y-axis, we take industry attractiveness. We look in detail and then you will understand it further. Now, what is the use of this matrix? So the use is same as we studied in BCG matrix. I already told you that when the company is into multiple product or multiple business, it faces the problem of allocation of limited resources. The resources are limited, but the options available for investing these resources are multiple. And therefore, the company have to analyze its different products, different businesses to see as to how this business are performing, which business has good future potential, and then only they can decide where to invest. And the GE is also same as BCG matrix. It helps business to resolve this particular problem. These 2 matrix came in 1970s, and it helps to understand or analyze your huge and complex portfolio, and thereafter to decide wherein you should invest in order to get good returns. So, previously, before these two metrics came into existence, companies usually used to do some kind of future projections regarding future cash flows, future market growth rate, and some other kind of projections. And on that basis, they were taking decisions of investment. But all those methods were considered as unreliable and unsuitable for taking allocation of resources type of decision. And therefore, GE, that is General Electric Company, consulted McKinsey and Company, and they both designed GE matrix, which is a 9-cell matrix. So it is 3x3 matrix, and therefore it has 9 cells, 9 different cells. So herein on x-axis, you can see we have plotted business unit strength, which is herein we do not consider only single factor to judge the business strength as high, medium, or low. We take into consideration number of factors, which we will look into now. And on y-axis, we take into consideration the industry attractiveness, which is again classified into high, medium, or low. And this also, we decide the level of industry attractiveness after referring number of factors. And then we have these 9 cells, which is result of the combinations. Now, what is industry attractiveness? See, industry is considered as attractive if it is possible for the business unit to compete easily and to earn good amount of profits. So if industry gives a huge amount of profits, industry is considered as attractive. And if the chances of earning profits is less, the industry is considered as unattractive. Now, to understand whether the industry is attractive or not, any analyst should look at number of factors. They should take into consideration the current scenario as well as the long run future scenario of the industry, because the investment that we make today, the investment decision that we make today will require long term commitment. So we have to take into consideration the current as well as the future scenario of the industry. Now, industry attractiveness, as I told you, is decided after taking into consideration the number of factors which impact the level of attractiveness of industry. Now, these factors, there are many factors and there is no definite list of it. While analyzing, you can take any factors that you regard as important. But these are few factors which are most common and are mostly taken by business enterprises to judge the attractiveness of industry. These factors include long run growth rate, whether the industry would be having the growth rate for long run, the size of the industry, that is the number of players in the industry, overall industry profitability, industry structure, at what stage of life cycle the industry is, embryonic stage, growth stage, maturity stage, or aging stage. The changes in demand, whether the demands in the industry frequently change or the demand is stable. Trend of prices, whether the price fluctuate or the price remains constant. The various macro factors such as political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental, seasonality, whether the seasons impact the industry or the industry is a kind of an industry which does business throughout the year, whether labor is available at cheap rates and conveniently or at high cost, whether markets in the industry are segmented properly. So all these are taken into consideration. And if all these factors turn out to be positive, then you can label that industry is attractive. But if you see that these factors are not performing properly, such as, if the demand changes so frequently, price fluctuates so highly, or if the industry profitability is low, these all point that industry is not attractive. So taking into consideration number of factors, we decide, and not as we did in case of BCG. In BCG, we considered only one factor, whether the growth rate of the industry is high or not. But in GE, multiple factors are taken into consideration. Similarly, for analyzing the strength of the business, which is on x-axis, we do not take into consideration only the market share as we did in BCG, but we take into consideration the number of factors. If the company is having the strength, that then it would be able to compete against its competitors well. The company should always try to have sustainable competitive advantage. That means long-term competitive advantage against the competitors. This will ensure that the company is able to sustain the competition and earn profits in long run. Number of factors determine whether the company is having strength in the market or not. Now, these factors includes the total market share of the company compared to its competitor, whether the market share of company is growing year by year compared to the competitor, what is the brand strength of the company, whether majority of customer recognize brand name, the profitability of the company, whether company has a loyal group of customer, VIRO, that is value, rareness, imitability, and an organization of resources and capabilities. Now, VIRO is basically a framework which helps to analyze the resources and capabilities of the organization. So if the resources owned by the organization are valuable, that means they are considered as important by the stakeholders connected with the organization. If the resources possessed by the organization are rare, which are not possessed by its competitor, if they are difficult to imitate, that is the competitors cannot imitate the resources possessed by the company, and if the resources are properly organized and company is able to take benefit of those resources, then those resources are definitely the source of strength for any business. Now, whether the business unit is strength in meeting industry critical success factors, that is whether the company is able to provide the critical success factors. Now, critical success factors or key success factors are those factors which needs to be provided by any business entity, which needs to be taken into consideration by any business entity if they need to be successful. I can give you example of critical success factors. For example, in case of food industry or restaurant, there are some factors that every restaurant should provide. If they are not providing these factors, they would face failure. That's why some factors are regarded as key, that is important factors which are responsible for the success. Now, for restaurant, it can be good quality of food and delivery in short time, delivering the product to the customer in a very short period, providing variety in menu, maintaining cleanliness, proper ambience, reasonable prices. All these are factors that the company should be able to take into consideration. If the company is lacking on any of these factors, then the company would be failure in the industry. So we should see whether the company is providing all these key success factor. This was example of restaurant business. Now, key success factors differ from industry to industry. Key success factors of education industry would be much different than that of restaurant. So that we need to take into consideration. But the thing that we are analyzing here is that whether the company's business strength is helping the company to fulfill all the key success or the critical success factors needed to sustain in the industry. What is the strength of company's value chain? That is the chain of activities that are managed by the company, whether all those activities which goes into manufacturing of the product or that satisfies the need of the customer, all those activities that are done to manufacture and deliver the product to the customer are done in a proper manner. That we have to see. The level of product differentiation, the product that is offered by the company, whether it is different and unique in the eyes of customer. If yes, then the customer would be able, the customers would be ready to pay the high price. Production flexibility, whether the company is able to adjust its production according to the changes in market demand, according to the changes in customers' taste and preference. So all these are the factors which determine whether the company has strength or not in the market. There could be number of others factor also. Now, how to use this tool? See, you do not have to remember the entire procedure because anyway, you have an MCQ pattern. Just remember the steps. You do not have to go into the detail about how to perform GE analysis. Now, the first step of this procedure is to determine the industry attractiveness, the level of industry attractiveness, whether it is high, low, or medium. And then in the second step, you have to determine the level of competition strength, the strength that the business has. For this also, there is some procedure which we do not have to understand. But in the second stage, you have to determine the strength that the company has in a particular market. This strength can also be high, medium, or low. Here, I would also like to point out that in BCG, if you remember, we had only two options, that is high or low, high, low, right? we do not had the option of any term that is medium growth or medium strength. That option was not available in BCG, and this option is available in GE. So this is again considered as superior. In the third step, after determining the industry attractiveness and strength of the business, in the third step, you have to plot your business on the matrix. You have to plot your business on the matrix, right? So supposingly your business is into this cell. So if the industry attractiveness is medium and if the business strength is high, your company would be into this cell. And there could be some other product for which industry attractiveness is high, but the business strength is low, then that product would be in this particular cell. So that is what you have to do. In the third stage, you have to plot where your particular products or the businesses fall in this matrix, and you have to draw a circle around them. So as we already did the same thing in BCG also, the size of the circle shows the proportion of the business revenue. So supposingly your three business falls into this category A, B, and C, but around A you are drawing this circle, around B, and around C. Now this shows that even if the three businesses have high industry attractiveness and high business strength, but still B is the product which is contributing more in terms of revenue, and this we came to know around from the size of the circle that we drew around the product B. Now we'll understand the three strategies that GE provides. So we have basically three strategies. The first strategy is invest grow, which is used for these three cells, which I have colored in yellow. Then we have the select or earning strategy, which is used for these three cells. We have select earning strategy, and we also have the third strategy. We have the third strategy, divest harvest, which is used for these three, which is not colored by me, right? So what is invest grow strategy? So if your businesses falls into any of these cells, which is colored in yellow by me, then you have to go for invest or grow strategy. Now invest or grow strategy, as the name suggests, this means that these businesses promise you huge profits in future, huge returns in the future, and therefore this means that you should invest lots of cash to operate these companies or these products, because these businesses are into those industries which are growing rapidly, and you also have high or medium share in those markets. And to maintain that kind of share and to earn as much as possible, you have to invest so that these business continue to grow without restraint. You have to invest in research and development, advertisement, acquisition, increase your product capacity to meet the demand of future. If your businesses falls in any of the cell which is colored in blue by me, then you have to use the strategy of selectively earning. Because the businesses that fall in these category, see, nothing is clear as to what is their future. So if you take example of this, so herein the industry attractiveness is very low, but your business strength is high. So we do not know what is the future of this industry. Maybe the industry may be completely vanished out in future. So there is, some kind of uncertainty about these three. If you look at this option, herein you also see that industry attractiveness is high, but you are not performing well. So it is again uncertain as to what to do. So these kind of industries, these kind of product, you have to analyze and you have to decide what is best thing for you. Sorry. So you have to select and decide whether you should invest or not. As I already told you, these are those options wherein there is huge amount of uncertainty. So the general rule that you have to follow for these businesses is that you should invest only if the particular businesses operate in huge market and there are not many dominant players. So if the businesses are having high growth rate and there are no dominant player in the market, there is no tough competition, then it may become easier for you to manage to earn a huge market share, and that way you can increase your profit. So if this is possible, if this is a situation, then and then only you should invest, and you should invest that amount of money which is left out after investing in those businesses wherein you choose the investment or growth strategy. So first of all, you have to satisfy the investment need of these businesses. And if something is left over, then and then only you should invest in selectively on a kind of businesses, because nothing is clear. There is lots of uncertainty. And if certain conditions are fulfilled, then and then only you can invest. And the next strategy herein is harvest, divest. Harvest or divest, these are two different strategies which we can use for these three businesses, these three. And as you already understand what is divestment and what is harvest. Now, divest is a kind of a strategy which is used for those businesses which are constantly making losses, and it is impossible for you to turn around, to turn their losses into profits, and then you decide to liquidate those businesses in it. You can use a harvest strategy for those businesses which are acting as cash cow. That means they are generating surplus cash, and you are also not need to invest huge sums of money. So you can just invest the present level of investment that you are making, just invest to keep them operating and collect all cash which is generated from those businesses. You should invest to an extent wherein the cash that you are getting from investment does not exceed the actual level of investment. So if the cost benefit ratio is in your favor, then and then only you should invest, or else you should divest. So again, you have to analyze for which business you will go for divestment and for which business you will go for harvesting. So this is all about your GE matrix. For these three cells, you should definitely invest more. For these three cells, nothing is clear. You have to analyze, management have to analyze. They have to select those businesses which they feel shows potential, then and then they should invest. And for these three, the management should not invest. They should go for harvesting. That means they should generate as much cash as possible by maintaining the minimum amount of current level investment, or they should go for divestment at all. They should not invest additional money. That's what these three strategies talks about. So step 5 talks about judging the future direction. So GE matrix talks about only the current picture of industry attractiveness and competitive strength. But you should not only take into consideration the current scenario. You should always analyze. You should always try to predict what the future holds, because at times the future may not be as good as the current picture is. And I already told you, any investment that you make today requires the long-term commitment. So you should be very clear as to whether the future is also good enough, whether the investment that you make today will considerably improve your competitive position in future or not. And on that basis, you should make your investment at present. And see, all this is not very easy to do. Analyzing current scenario, getting the data about the business strength, the industrial profitability, using GE matrix and analyzing future, all this is very difficult. And so you should always take the help of experts, that is industry analysts, and take their views on whether the industry will continue to grow in future or not, whether the industry growth would be same as it is in present or it will decrease in future. That you can always judge with the help of experts. You should also discuss with your managers who are running your different businesses and your different products. You should talk to them what is the current level of company strength and whether the company's strength will increase or decrease in future or not. And on the basis of their opinions, you can decide whether you should actually invest or not and what would be the future scenario. And finally, prioritize your investment. So that was the main purpose of doing GE. We need to decide whether where we should invest and how much we should invest. Now, there are some problems that they have pointed out with GE also. They say that GE help us definitely to find out those businesses which requires investment. They help us to identify the best businesses or the best products which wherein we should invest. But still, it does not answer some of the question. It does not answer as to whether it is really worth investing in some business. It does not answer as to exactly how much amount we should invest and where we should invest if we want to improve. because there are there are many activities wherein we can improve, wherein we can invest. We can invest in research, we can invest in marketing, we can invest in value chain. So where we can invest, that is not answered by GE. And also GE is very complex matrices, take time and effort and money if you are trying to implement this matrix. But again, in spite of in spite of these limitations and in spite of the efforts that GE takes, it is considered as a significant tool which help any business to take investment decisions. Now we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of GE. GE is a matrix which help business to prioritize where they should invest their limited resources in order to get the maximum returns. It makes manager aware about what products they have in their portfolio, what businesses they have in their portfolio, and how each of the business is performing. Now, this matrix is considered as superior and sophisticated than the BCG matrix. It removes the limitations that we saw in BCG. BCG take into consideration only one factor on x-axis, y-axis. GE takes into consideration multiple factors. BCG was 2x2 matrix, wherein we had only option to plot high, low. But GE is a 3x3 matrix, wherein we have option to put high, medium, and low scenarios also. That's why it is considered as superior. Now, if any businesses wants to improve the performance of their business, GE will definitely guide what efforts they should take and wherein they should invest. So it identifies the strategic step that company needs to take in order to improve the performance. Now, disadvantages of GE is that it is very complex matrix and you cannot perform it on your own. You require the help of any consultant or experienced expert person. And then only you can analyze as accurately as possible. And if we indulge experts and consultants, definitely their fees or their services are very costly, and thereby this matrix becomes very costly to implement, and small businesses cannot afford to use this matrix, or the businesses which are already into financial crisis cannot use this matrix. This matrix analyzes the businesses individually, products individually, and does not take into consideration the connections between two products, the synergies that could be between two or more products or two or more units. The connections, or how one products impact the another product, one business impact another business, that is not taken into consideration in GE matrix. So this is all about your GE matrix.